Welcome to the Responsible Parent Podcast, where overwhelmed families curious about naturally regulating their nervous system can find answers. I'm your host, Caylie O'Patik, and in each episode, I'll cover a topic you've been wanting to understand more about and serve as a reminder for you that everything is cyclical and connected. New episodes are released at noon Eastern Standard Time every Thursday, alternating between guests and solo episodes, all under a half an hour to give you the best value for your time. Today is a solo episode where I explore the beauty of all things connected during this spring season and dig into some controversial topics around religion and science, all relating back to how a regulated nervous system can help open your eyes. We just celebrated Easter Sunday, and as I'm brainstorming and writing podcast episodes, I just couldn't help but notice with my multidimensional approach to spirituality, rituals, and celebrations, how there are many different things being celebrated at this time. And I noticed on the internet in particular that people get really upset with what or who came first. This holiday isn't necessarily true because this came first or that came after. And to be honest with you, I definitely subscribed to that school of thought for a while when I was in my truth digging phase, we'll call it. Like, oh my gosh, I celebrated Christmas my whole life. Christmas is supposed to be on the day that Jesus was born. And then I discovered later that the man Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. And that day has actually been celebrated as winter solstice for thousands of years before. It blew my mind, and I felt like I was lied to. It was hurtful. And I mean, nobody likes to be wrong. But now I'm at a different stage of my life where I don't see the competition as much as I just see the connection. And to me, I'm at this point where I get excited that there are so many different ways to celebrate the same concept. No matter where you are from, what religion you subscribe to or are against, the timing of Easter season is absolutely celebrated as a time of new, a time of fresh beginnings. And if you don't celebrate any religions, then maybe you still adhere to the practice of spring cleaning during this time. It's kind of this energy of out with the old, in with the new, clean slate, rebirth, renew. And I challenge you as you go through life to take a look at some of the things that you may be upset or triggered by, or you may think this isn't true. Um, Nature has its own cycles. There are electromagnetic pulses constantly coursing through our entire universe. They are in cyclical patterns and waves that we can track. And the earth moves on its axis the same way every year, right? The earth moves around the sun the same way every year. The moon is locked to the earth's gravitational pull and makes the same rotations around our earth every single day. These things are measurable. And I always say that's what science is. I love science and get so geeked out on it. But to me, science is not the truth. To me, science is humans' way of explaining phenomena that's already happening, right? We know it to be true. We know what's happening, or we see it to be true, or we see it happening, or whatever. Then science is our way of explaining what we are already witnessing in some way. And to me, when I see that there are people who are celebrating Easter and Ēostre and Emblem and all of these different things around the world at the same time, they all mean the same things. To me, it's not that one of them is true, it's that all of them are true. And how beautiful is that? That new beginnings, historically, have always happened around this exact same time of year. So that doesn't go to say that Jesus was not risen on Easter Sunday just because there were already different celebrations of resurrections and new life prior to him rising. To me, it's cyclical, it's nature. The nature of our world is that things are risen during this time. It's just the time of year for it. Things are new, things are white cleaned, and hope is instilled around this time of year. It's not a competition of who came first or who's right or what's lying. I mean, I think of it this way. How ridiculous would it be if you planted some zucchinis and they popped up in the middle of the summer, as you'd expect, and then someone walks along and says, there is no way you can grow zucchinis there because I grew pumpkins there last year. It's impossible. That you grow zucchinis there now because I had pumpkins there last year. That wouldn't make any sense, right? It's the same thing when we bash on other people's religions or ritual practices that just happen to be on the same timelines as one another. It's actually really beautiful and it's all connected. And holy smokes, it's something to be number one, noticed. It happens. Okay, we should observe it. And number two, embraced. So, all right, what do I know? I know that this is a really good time of year to clean out my closet, literally. Wipe the slate clean with my diet, wipe the slate clean with my home, my relationships, and I know that historically it works best when I do these things at this time. It's like God literally gives us hints in a small blueprint as long as we pay attention on how to live a better life. To me, different sciences are our ways of decoding these blueprints. So I urge you, as you're going through life, when you see things that irk you, to maybe instead allow yourself to be intrigued by them. And if you find yourself in the same situation that I found myself in years ago, where you're like, oh man, I feel like I was lied to. Yes, maybe about certain things you absolutely were. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But also, take a step back and see if maybe instead of purposely misleading, it could just all be connected. Maybe there is not one or the other. Maybe it's not or, it's yes and. Our world and this universe are continuously getting more complex. So I found that adapting the yes and mentality has proven to be more true from my lens and also much more emotionally freeing. But beware, if you have an unhealthy ego, it will not appreciate you giving up on any fights. Interesting fact, I actually wrote most of this episode in 2022. Then last year, 2023, during this time, I intuitively made a cake with rose, mint, ginger, and cocoa, local honey, arrowroot, teff flour, and cinnamon. After that, I discovered that it was very traditional of modern Beltane tradition to make a cake with flowers and honey. During this time last year, we also had a powerful new moon eclipse, which brings storms to our atmosphere. New moons give a dark sky, which is traditionally good for extra rest and going within your homes, minds, and hearts. As chance would have it, I had plans to visit Colorado that, because of the storms, were canceled. So I spent the Saturday night out of the April 2023 eclipse home practicing self care with a bath, natural face mask, and treatments. I also learned later that celebration for Beltane was traditionally used for gathering dewdrops for skincare, along with other showing face traditions as the Earth in the Northern Hemisphere begins to awaken. Last year, I also noticed that we naturally had our first bonfire of the year with family during this Easter season, and that Beltane also means bright fire and was traditionally celebrated the same way. What have you done recently just because that upon further inspection, you may now realize was ingrained in you as a great time to do it? Let me know in the comment section of wherever you're listening to this podcast, or feel free to DM me on Instagram at the responsible parent. I love noticing how there is a time for everything. I love being witness to the connection of all living things, every energetic pattern on this planet and beyond. I love allowing my atoms made of this universe transferred to my body, with God only knows how much history of ebbing and flowing with the cycles of this beautifully patterned, fractionated, energetic, spiritual, and physical universe, to remind me of the patterns they already know how to play out. Not all of their patterns are helpful, but a regulated nervous system allows us to notice them and to be grateful for the ancient knowledge the cells of our carbon bodies and the energy of our spirit-based bodies bring to us in every moment. We are so connected, and I am very grateful.